and welcome back to the Consistory, the coelc YouTube channel. I'm your host for this video, Reverend Zabel of St John's Evangelical Lutheran Church located in Dalby, Queensland, Australia. And today we're continuing our mini-series here on women in the church. Particularly, we're going through 5 arguments for women's ordination and giving our response to them. Just before we get started, pointing out that there are 4 good books I would recommend for people to read in regards to this topic on women's ordination. There is Women Pastors here, which is released by the Missouri Synod Concordia Publishing House. There is the book Women Pastors, which is a compilation of articles written by Pastor Clarence Preveno of the Australian Evangelical Lutheran Church on the topic of women's in the ministry. There is also Earthly Images of the Heavenly Bride, written by Pastor Vernon Grieger, who I believe at the time of writing was a member of the Lutheran Church of Australia. And then there is also my book on the topic, The Role of Female Laity in the Church, which is actually what we're going through for this study series. The last 3 books, if you would like to buy, you can just go to lulu.com and either search my name or search Pastor Preveno or Pastor Grieger, or just look up the Order of Knight George and you should be able to come across all the books that have been published by the Order of Knight George. So I'd recommend going and checking those out. All 4 books are a great resource for this topic. Basically, in this series, I'm going through my book on women laity in the church, and we were looking at the topic about can women preach and teach in the church. And in my book, I kind of go on a bit of a tangent, responding to 5 common arguments put forth by the pro-women's ordination groups. And today we're going to be looking at argument 3, commonly put forth by women's ordination supporters. The third argument that is commonly put forth by pro-women's ordination groups is that if women are allowed to teach in Sunday school and be Sunday school teachers, why can't they, be pastors? There is actually kind of 2 answers to this, but we'll look at the first one. And the first one is that Scripture does permit women to teach, just not in the office of the ministry. Women are not permitted to have authority over men, but women are permitted to have authority over other women and especially over children. Throughout Scripture, you have situations where women teach other women, such as Miriam and also Naomi teaching Ruth. And also you have cases of women teaching children, such as Lois and Eunice teaching St. Timothy. But again, not only are these women teaching women and women teaching children, but it also happens outside of the church. This is never women getting up in the divine service teaching in a public situation. See, women are permitted to even teach men as long as they do so outside of the church in a private setting. For example, in the video we discussed last week, the female prophetesses like Deborah and Huldah did teach men, but they did so in private settings outside of public worship. You also have the situation of Priscilla teaching Apollos, which we're going to go through in more detail next week, but essentially Priscilla did teach the pastor Apollos about Jesus, but she does so outside of the worship service. Priscilla doesn't get up and be a pastor. She teaches men in a private setting. Now, the other answer to this question about why women can be Sunday school teachers is the fact that we call it Sunday school. And this is important because often you'll find these days churches refer to Sunday school as children's church. But that's actually problematic. There is a reason why the church has historically referred to Sunday school as Sunday school and not Sunday church or children's church. Because Sunday school is not church. It is not a church service. It is not divine worship. The teaching of children is Sunday school. And in Luther's catechism, Luther teaches that the office of teacher is not an extension of the office of the ministry, like some Lutherans like to teach. What Luther says in the catechism is that the office of teacher is an extension of the office of parent. When you have teachers, whether they be men or women in a school, they are not taking on the position of pastor, they are taking on the position of parent. Likewise, when you have Sunday school, if you have someone who is not the pastor leading your Sunday school, the person leading Sunday school is doing so in the position of a parent. Thus, a Sunday school teacher, whether they are male or female, is teaching in regards to the office of parent, which women are permitted to do. As we read in the epistles to Timothy, Timothy's grandmother and mother taught him the faith about Jesus. So parents have not only the right to, but the responsibility to teach their children. And so there is a Sunday school where parents, as they do with your weekly day school, they hand over their children to somebody else to teach them about that. And so Sunday school is actually considered Sunday school and not children's church. A Sunday school teacher is not an extension of the office of pastor in a church setting. The Sunday school teacher is a teacher standing in the position of parent in a school setting to teach your children about the faith. Yeah, and that's my response to this argument put forth by Women's Ordination. Join us again in our next video. I've been your host, Reverend Jake Zabel. Goodbye and God bless.